This is Ken Long from Tortoise Capital with a review of some important beliefs about systems that apply to the swing trade systems that we're working on. The first is that your trading system really is part of a business plan, and only one portion of it, an important part, but only one portion of it, are your trading strategies, which consist of a mix of trading systems taken together. And so each trading system has these components: market filters, setup conditions, the entry signal, which is highlighted in red here to reflect that most people spend most of their time thinking about that, whereas really that's just one part of that overall system definition. It should discuss protective stops, re-entry strategies or reversal strategies, exit strategies, and a position sizing algorithm, both for the trades of that system and maybe how it reflects to market conditions. And so when you have a bundle of those things taken together, along with some rules that tell you how many of each type and how they should be taken together, and asset allocation between the various systems and different time frames, you can think of that as your overall trading strategy. And so the business trading system, your business plan, is going to have excuse me, the elevator speech, the executive summary, the convincing testimony as to why you believe this collection of ideas and processes and structures and systems and strategies are going to give you an edge. A description of your business, your competition, the industry that you're a member of, aspects about yourself and self-knowledge, strengths and weaknesses, particular beliefs you have about the markets, about the importance of alliances and the way you see alliances and coaching being part of your overall plan, the edges you have, financial numbers and contingency planning. All of those taken together are part of that business plan. And so the trading strategy derives down into these trading systems, each one of which is a standalone entity. It's useful, in my view, to think about systems in light of general systems theory. A good way to think about this is the idea of the things you have direct control over inside your sphere in this white square: the input, the process, the output, and the feedback loops that allow you to connect this into a system. And then to recognize that this operates inside an environment, and that the boundary is an important dimension. And normally we think of the environment as those things beyond your control, but which have direct impact on your systematic process here. And so the purpose of this system should be articulated. The objectives matter. We recognize that the whole of the system is greater than the sum of its individual parts, that the input, process, output is a useful way to think about value add and the resources and structures it takes to convert inputs into value added output. These components of systems are interactive. They work with you. They integrate into a whole, and they're iterative in that we've got multiple cycles. The learning loops and the possibilities of feedback matter, along with the relationships between the parts and with peers or competitors and suppliers and customers. Your feedback loops can be reinforcing or counterbalancing, so you get more of the same or a dampening effect depending on what type of loops you have. You should know what those loops are and whether they're additive or dampening, and then how that can change over time. It's important to talk about the boundaries and the strength and also the duration of those boundaries. To recognize that we can have nonlinear and dynamic relationships among the actors that are operating inside this environment. The act of mapping out your processes and your systems in a structure like this, we think of as modeling, and it's a simplified way to represent the reality, and the act of describing turns out to be one of the most powerful ways to learn and to uncover the elements inside your system, especially if you're working on a team, to get a common view of the group process outlined is very useful. There are hard systems, soft systems, and evolutionary adaptive systems described in the literature. Hard systems involving technology and which are rigid, maybe closed systems. Soft systems that involve people, culture, shifting dynamics between members of the system. And then evolutionary systems that act in a way to be self-adaptive or learning as the environment changes or their performance changes, and that initiates a process of change. The map is not the territory we remember, but it can help so we don't confuse the process model with what is actually going on in the world. We'd like to be able to optimize the model to see how we might then optimize our real world system, but we don't confuse the evidence from one with the assumptions of the other. The power of objectives in developing your system is really important, so you've got to be careful what you ask for. All of these are potential objectives that you might have. One that has occurred to me over the years to become more and more important is I have a need in my system to feel professional, and I get that feeling when I'm being professional. And so I define professional in a way that allows me to standardize, simplify, regulate, adapt, evolve, sustain my operations in a way that allows me to feel good about the way I'm doing business. And so I look for ways to achieve that feeling in the way that I set up my systems, because I found that not only do I like that feeling, it's also a fact that when I am being professional, I then feel professional, and I actually perform better in terms of absolute dollars and R multiples and system numbers. So this has become part of my design criteria for all systems going forward. A systematic way to review your performance, I would recommend be done each month when swing trading and even day trading, but especially swing trading, so that you have enough time to gather enough evidence to make significant analysis and insights, but also frequent enough that you can make changes in time. If you wait too long in between cycles, you might miss overlapping trends or act too late to make a change in time, or tend to muddy multiple causal events and themes into one undifferentiated pile. So these are questions that I ask of myself monthly, just as a way to get to closure about each month and tie it up in a nice bow and ribbon, and add it as a unit of analysis. This is a model of a decision-making system that comes from Colonel John Boyd of the Air Force, the OODA loop, and it's one in which we find a lot of application not only in the military but also outside of it in general decision theory. The observe, orient, decide, and act. And the notion is that the orientation step in here is the sum total of what you are at any given moment, the relationship between your culture, your genetics, and the arrival of new information and how you handle it, all of your previous experiences, and the lessons that you've learned and incorporated into your procedures as a result of your method of analysis and synthesis. So this you can think of as our mental, emotional, physical setting, which then is the filter and the sense-making box by which new observations that come from the world occur, are interpreted, and then feed forward into decisions, or hypotheses, and then decisions, which lead to actions, which then give feedback all along the way to our model, to how we make decisions in the future, in which the observation of the results of the action could be the next observation. So we get this loop, an iterative process. And so in the world of fighter pilots, if you can go through this process more quickly than your opponent and apply that feedback in a proper way and learn from it quicker, you can find yourself becoming better and better as a result of being inside his decision cycle. And so in this model, the orientation becomes a really important maybe the most important step of all, because it's the one through which decisions and actions can be made, and it's the one that is the repository of the lessons learned from the feedback loops that we generate as we go through these decision cycles. I say all of that simply to remind ourselves that really our systems and our plans and our activities are all based on choices that we make, driven by objectives, with full acknowledgement of the risks, and that we've got many things to work our way through. And so by knowing who we are and what we value and what our strengths and weaknesses are, we can add value to each and every one of those choices. And as long as we're framing them in terms of risks and rewards, with the idea that the rewards lead us to our objectives, and measure that through a lens of risk management, then we have a fighting chance to develop a holistic set of systems that fit us to help us meet our objectives in a sustainable way over time. So that's a few ideas about systems in general that we want to keep in mind as we look at these particular trading systems on the swing time frame.